This is In the Black with T. Dallas Smith. Conversations with trailblazers, glass ceiling breakers, and champions for change who inspire and cultivate leaders every day.
I am here today with Andy Ghertner. Andy Ghertner is the godfather of tenant representation, a true legend in the real estate industry, with a career spanning over 4 decades. With his unwavering dedication to helping clients achieve their objectives, he has become a trusted advisor to some of the biggest companies in the world. His leadership and entrepreneurial spirit helped to establish the Cushman & Wakefield's operation here in Atlanta and the greater Southeast. And today, the office is one of the firm's most successful. Andy's remarkable achievements are a testament to his expertise, integrity, and commitment to excellence. Andy, welcome to the In the Black podcast.
Thank you very much, Dallas. I'm glad to be here.
Man, you are without a doubt one of my favorite people on the planet. And I couldn't think of anybody to be the guest to the very first podcast, and it's Andy Ghertner. So just a little background. Andy and I met when I joined Cushman & Wakefield in 1989. Andy undoubtedly was the big dog in this town. So, Andy, you're legendary. Everyone knows that you joined Cushman & Wakefield 45 years ago, but can you talk about how you got started in the industry?
Gosh, I worked for a developer who was building garden apartments. He was a family friend of my parents, and he needed somebody to kind of be a jack of all trades. And interestingly enough, Dallas, he made his money building the first garden apartments for the African American community in Atlanta.
Wow.
He built garden apartments with clubhouses, swimming pools, tennis courts. It was unheard of.
Wow.
At that time. That was in the early 70s.
Wow.
I was with that firm for a while and then went to work for Adair Realty, which was an old line silk stocking law firm. Interestingly enough, Dallas, something that should be near and dear to your heart is at that time, this 100-year-old real estate company had never hired a Jew, and I was their token.
How was that? I mean, was that tough for you at that time?
No, I've had some anti-Semitic things said, clubs I couldn't get in, but you persevere, and it's like water off a duck's back. And I had no trouble on an interpersonal basis in the office. They may have said something behind my back, but they didn't say anything to my face. And frankly, I had a very good experience. And I was there for 5 years. And the CEO of that company was Jack Adair. He had the misfortune of dying at a down cycle that we've seen plenty of in the real estate industry. Some of the senior officers wanted to buy the company from his estate. They didn't want junior people like me and some others to participate. Turned out that the guy buying the company was somebody we didn't want to work for. We borrowed $250,000 from the SBA. We weren't in business 6 months when this loudmouth Yankee showed up in a lawyer's office, and we were asked to come meet with him, and he was in town looking for some people to start an office for Cushman & Wakefield in the Southeast.
Who was that broker?
His name was John Dowling.
The John Dowling.
The John Dowling. He was a larger than life individual. I have always said that he was the smartest person I have ever met in commercial real estate. He had a memory like an elephant. He was a forceful individual, but no one knew of Cushman and Wakefield in Atlanta.
Mm.
He was down here on his own to find some people to open a Cushman and Wakefield office.
Mm.
You know, one of the things you learn, Dallas, as a broker, is how to read upside down.
Yes,
Because sitting by somebody's desk, and that's a little attribute that might be helpful.
absolutely.
He had interviewed every named tenant rep broker in Atlanta at the time. It was a small handful. But from that meeting, Cushman and Wakefield pursued us, and we joined in 1977.
That was Bug, Coppage, Ghertner, McWilliams.
That's it. Bug, Coppage, Ghertner, and McWilliams. So
Yeah.
we had an Episcopalian, two Episcopalians, a Baptist, and a Jewish guy. And of the four, we had two investment sales brokers, one industrial broker, and me, the office leasing broker. Back in those days in New York, Cushman and Wakefield was known as an office leasing company.
Yes.
We're very much diversified today. Your good friend John O'Neill runs
Yes.
multifamily for us, and those guys are killing it.
Yeah. Back to John Dowling. I understand he was the master of the guerrilla lease. There was an article that came out. That's one of the reasons how I even found Cushman & Wakefield was I found out about John Dowling first. And if I'm not mistaken, he was the number one broker for Cushman for years, made
For
millions of dollars. Talk about his tactic around this whole guerrilla lease.
Well, there was a lawyer at Sherman and Sterling, big New York-based law firms. His name was Lee Kuntz, Kuntz. Lee was a great draftsman. Most leases are written by landlords
Mm-hmm.
and thus are preferential to the landlord's position.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dowling and Lee became a good friend of mine as well, over a number of years crafted what is affectionately known as the guerrilla lease
Mm-hmm.
to be as favorable to a tenant as you could get away with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're representing a big enough tenant, you
Mm-hmm.
can't do it if you're representing somebody that needs 5,000 feet.
Right.
But if you've got somebody that needs 50,000 feet, you tell the landlord that we've got a lease form, we'll submit it to you. And that was a little bit unheard of.
Oh, yeah. Talk about the big deal that you guys did, one of the first big deals that you did here in Atlanta. If I'm not mistaken, was it Georgia Pacific?
We did do Georgia Pacific. Georgia Pacific was relocating from Portland, Oregon, moving their headquarters. A lot of their timberlands were in the southeast, Georgia Pacific being a paper and building products
Mm-hmm.
company, very much diversified now. And Cushman and Wakefield, as a corporation, had a unique division called development consulting. We would work for corporations that wanted to develop a headquarters building. Most office buildings are built by office building developers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes corporations will go find a developer and hire them to build a corporate headquarters. But this division of Cushman and Wakefield would go to the corporation and hire the architect, manage the construction, and deliver a product. And we, as a corporation, had represented Georgia Pacific, and it was a great experience for me. Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, one of the famous architectural firms based in New York, was the architect. For 6 or 8 months,
Mhm.
I would travel to Portland, Oregon, or to New York to sit in on the uh, architectural development meetings. You're participating in the yin and yang of the vision of the architect and the cost of that vision and the compromises that are made. One of my favorite stories is the real estate guy for Georgia Pacific, whose name was Mel Carpenter. He's passed away now. At Skidmore, they would serve lunch and in the conference room, and in there would be white wine, red wine, soft drinks, beer, hot entree, cold entree, just a spread. And he looked at me early on and said, "Andy, this people know how to treat their clients right." I said, "Mel, make sure you look at the next invoice because you bought that lunch and you bought it with a 15% markup for the privilege of doing so." That's an aside.
That's too funny. Too funny. Andy, what would you say now? Now, I mean, because you're still coming into the office, right?
Yes.
If you don't mind sharing with the audience, how old are you today, Andy?
Thank you for asking, Dallas. Next month on the 16th, I'll be 80.
Oh man, it's a blessing, brother.
I certainly don't think like I'm 80. I don't have the stamina I used to have, but I was up this morning working out with a trainer at 6:30. So,
Oh wow,
you know, you
oh
just keep
man,
going.
that's a beautiful thing. And we've spent a lot of time talking about the past. So next, I want to get into the future, but we have to stop here. Coming up in the second part of our conversation with Andy Ghertner, the Vice Chairman of Office Tenant Representation Services at Cushman & Wakefield, Andy discusses why having a good reputation is your most important asset.
It is rare for anyone to say Gertner was worried about the commission. If you do your job, the money will follow. So your reputation really does mean a lot in this business.
This has been In the Black with T. Dallas Smith. To find out how you can change the dominant narrative in the commercial real estate industry and challenge the status quo to improve the lives of others, go to tdsintheblack.com. In the Black with T. Dallas Smith is a production of Forbes Books.